Okay, there we go. All right.
Do we have any minutes to approve?
No, I'm sorry. I promise I will get us caught up at some point.
Signing the bill.
It's crazy.
The bills are all signed.
Okay. Just to recap on the bills, you've got the Whitewater monthly thing, final commitment for 56 Cape Road. This is more PFAS testing. Last one is the new meters, so 19,000 for the 2 ultrasonic meters. They're gonna, that would get qualify the grant from the state of the earmark.
Yep.
So one of them will put in storage till the meter fit thing happens, but at least we get the meter bought. And I have more updates for you on that we get to the agenda, but.
Okay.
And apparently,
Storage is gonna be locked.
yep, so we'll just leave.
Yep, just hit the lights behind that sign and those will be all set.
Cool, thanks.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I guess they're back ordered, but we'll get them by July, mid-July.
Almost week. We're gonna pay for it in the grant.
Miscellaneous question. Have you still got stuff signed? And there was gonna be a police station.
Oh, yes. I apparently have to be out by July 1.
What, they doing something with it?
They're selling it. They put it out to bid.
Yeah.
One individual company bid on it, they awarded the thing, and I think they're negotiate.
It's good riddance.
Route 85 Reality Corporation.
Oh, Kevin Van.
Well, yeah, he's very smart. He retained an easement to access it. He doesn't need access. to
Well,
the
quite
fire
honestly,
department.
since
And
he, quite honestly, since he paid for most of it anyway, I have no problem, not that it matters to us as the water board. I think it's an excellent idea for him to get in control of it. He donated most of that building.
Yeah, the only downside is that's where the park stuff is, but
All right.
whatever.
So we gotta find someplace else to put the stuff that you have there.
Yeah, well, everything water related is in town hall, in a closet, and the pipes and stuff we're gonna store it in the hill, or actually potentially in the rectory over here. We'll just shove it out of the way.
Store in my backyard if you want to.
Well, they can't go outside because PVC.
Store in my basement.
Anyway,
Nothing down there.
so that's that. And then I think that would be
Okay.
new business.
I believe our guests are here.
Yeah, I don't think you're done. Good.
Well, excited to be here. Thank you for having us. We're excited about the opportunity to work with you and the town on water and sewer expansion studies. So, Vin's heard a little bit of this.
I think you
Already,
meant Vin. I'm Kevin Ruggan.
Yep.
This is Alan Kent, our chairman.
Excellent. So I'm Scott Salvucci, a client manager with Woodard and Curran. And with me tonight is Krista Forty, she'll be the project manager for this project. And I think, what we want to accomplish tonight, and hope you're in agreement with, is just kind of introduce ourselves, kind of talk about what we're scoped to do here, and really get your thoughts on what we're looking at here, get your thoughts on the goals and vision of the expansion
Our partner, the majority of us never even saw the RFP.
Okay.
We didn't see anything. Because Vin was at the meeting where they picked you. He was our delegate since he's in the business
Kevin, there really wasn't an RFP.
full time. Well, okay,
That's another.
but just so you know, I always feel like we're the left out guys when everybody else goes around us. But eventually, whatever gets decided falls
Yeah.
under us. So
Yeah.
whatever you can tell us about the scope and anything.
Absolutely, yeah, we'll go through the scope. Oh, Jack, how are you? Nice
Hey,
to see you.
Jack is on a.
Yeah, we're happy.
That's not meant as a knock.
You're muted.
No, it's either. It's
Yeah,
just- It's just, so I'd just like to know what's going on.
good evening.
Here, I apologize for being late, but I probably can't stay long. Sorry about that.
Huh?
Sorry, Jack, we're just now getting going on
Okay, good.
the
Yeah.
presentation, so.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, we're happy to really be able to engage you on this because you are one of, and if not the entity to keep informed, keep engaged with and work with hand in hand really as we migrate through the study of water and sewer opportunities of new drinking water source,
Okay, And just bear in mind, there is no legal entity in the town of Bennett capable of making a decision on sewers.
Right. Yeah, nothing's established yet, right?
No, there was a move more than a year ago for us to get a request for state legislation at the 21 town meeting to have it prepared for that, adding sewers to our duties when the study was first envisioned. We were told it was premature, so it's dropped. So it could have been passed and allow a formal water and sewer commission to exist.
Yeah.
So right now, just stating that whenever you guys come up with options in anything in town, one of the things the town's gonna have to do is create a legal entity to work with that.
Mhm.
Whether they want a separate sewer commission, create it to us, or do whatever, but there is none.
Yeah, further down the line, once those things kind of materialize, right, so.
It's the material.
If they materialize, yeah, and I think that aligns with the scope, you know, what
Yep.
we're concentrating on water more so than sewer, so
Good.
we can certainly give you an overview.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what are you guys looking at?
Well, we just started, we just got a contract, so we're just kicking off. So
Okay.
right now, we've connected with Dan. Dan has sent us a whole bunch of existing information, history.
Yep.
It looks like you sent us some GIS, files, things like that. So we're going through that now to figure out what we have and figure out are there different things that we wanna ask Dan if he has, or that we need in order to move forward. So that's kind of step one right now. And once we have that, another big important piece will be, obviously, we're gonna be looking at different alternatives for drinking water. So we'll look at, installing a well, what's the feasibility of installing a well in town? And or what are the options with partnering with your neighboring communities? Either, expanding, and we talked about the feasibility of connecting with.
Putting the bubble basketball.
Hotel, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Long have Milford.
We'll knock on the door just to uncover the stone and document it within the study, but that, we understand we're not gonna spend much time on it. But we wanna be able to
Just
put
so
it
you
in
know,
the study.
Milford's already been approached very quietly under the radar. I have that connection.
Where's it?
Milford.
Milford, yeah, okay, that's my hometown.
You live in Milford?
That's where I grew up. I live in Franklin now.
Okay.
Yeah.
But just, so you know, the water commissioners have been approached very, very quietly. They just took over the private company and
Yep.
it's politically not wise for them to discuss anything right now. And they're waiting probably till sometime this fall. They've asked me to come in. They said they'd call me and ask me to come back. But right now they have a major well offline. They got one back on, they've got one offline. And until that comes back on, believe it or not, now that the town owns it, they don't know their pumping capacity. Because they're not sure in rebuilding the well field, what's gonna come back out of it.
Is it just a redevelopment of the well or?
It's the redevelopment of the Dilla Street well, which is right where Dilla Street crosses.
It's not offline, it's
Where the treatment
contamination.
plant is.
No,
Okay.
it's offline because it's
It just needs
time to redevelop.
Yeah. Gotcha.
The Godfrey Brook was offline for 2 years while we built the new treatment facility. That's up and running, but if you want to talk to them, I prefer I go with you
Yeah,
because I have the connection.
yeah, and that's the thing. We've talked to Jack about that. There's certain communities that, Jack will be a great resource because he's, in a sense, working there in a little bit.
And if you
capacity.
don't know the history, we had a really good reception out of Bellingham
Mhm.
a couple of years ago. However, the DPW director,
DiMartino, he's still there.
okay, the DPW director and the town manager were in favor of providing us with water. Unfortunately, it came up in the middle of the selectmen's meeting as an add-on to something in the summer, and the discussion was shot down without even a discussion.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that it was very financially beneficial to them and us. But, so that's still touchy. Prior to that, about 10 years ago, a former member of the water board really destroyed that relationship by going to other towns demanding they give us water. And it took us a long time to rebuild Bellingham. And Hopedale just, they believe we're trying to plot stealing water. They don't want anything to do with this. They kick us off the system. If we got another town connection, they kick us off in 15 seconds. The only way that they're supplying us is the DEP, whatever the Milford Water Company used to supply. They willed it through Hopedale, 40. And there was a meter pit at the Hopedale Milford line on 140, and that's the meter pit we use now. And the Milford Water Company hit a water shortage about 15 years ago and stopped supplying us, and the DEP mandated that Hopedale do it. And they've been very extra, 15 years ago. It's more like 20. And they've been very unhappy doing it, even when we had more oil 16, and we got a state grant in to put a pipe to service all those homes. The Hopedale people thought it was a plot to steal the water, and it was only when the state rep and the DEP intervened and explained to them we have to, what's the word, evacuate, close, evict all those people from the houses without potable water that Hopedale allowed the connections to. So that's the history of Hopedale.
It's straight, yeah.
Kevin, we did talk about just what you're talking about. And when they get to the point where they're ready to start having conversations with abutting towns, we'll try to bring in like Vinny to Upton, or you to Milford, or me to Uxbridge, where we have relationships, and maybe that'll help us get the dialogue going.
Yeah, I didn't know if they knew the history, so I just wanted to tell them.
They probably don't, no.
Yeah, it's helpful. It's helpful.
Well, I've been in the area for 45 years and lived in Mendon for close to 40, and I know the history pretty well. I know the players and the people.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and I've had, Todd Prokop is our technical manager. He couldn't be here today, but he has the drinking water background, and, we've had some conversations about starting to reach out to the community sooner rather than later. Because they will know right off the bat, A, if they are interested in having a conversation. And B, if they have extra water, do they have extra water? What's the
I can tell you, Northbridge referred us several years ago to the, what's the name of the mill? The mill where they produce the lobster traps, I'm trying to think of it.
Mm.
And
Is it in Blackstone?
in Northbridge, they had a well permit, but the owner of the mill died, and then the kids never really got a permit to truck around in the. It's like bringing it from Upton to Northbridge, costs prohibitive. I mean, hundreds of millions to get that far, even if they had to.
Yeah, that's one thing we'll be looking into is, proximity, what kind of town parcels are there, proximity to
The one we haven't talked to
centers.
is Blackstone, and they have a line that ends right at the Mendon, Blackstone town line. I don't know what their capacity is, I don't know if they're interested, but that's at the end of Providence Road.
I presume that somebody given a copy of the memo I put together 3 or 4 years ago. Basically, the situation is in every town that's affected.
Okay, that's,
Yeah, our contract with Hopedale requires us to look at all the area towns every year and report back to them, our annual reports. Nope.
What is the answer?
Under the terms of our water purchase contract with Hopedale, this board has to go to them once a year and update them on our efforts to get water from a different source.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, so basically we go through the towns every year, gauge their feelings and report back to them.
it's kind of like when you're on unemployment, you go to find a job, it's like, oh, that's what I remember. Sorry.
Well, we actually know what it is formally.
Yeah,
So, we know that Bellingham's,
I mean, we're in the strange situation where to simplify things, State Road and parts of that are east are zoned commercial.
Yeah.
And Hopedale is taking the attitude, it legally can, that if it's residential now, if you put it, make it a commercial operation, we're not gonna give you any water.
They'll turn it off.
Right.
Because they don't have enough water, they said, for their own commercial ventures. And it's stifling things that happen. If you look at the corner of Hartford Avenue and Cape Road, and also, that's also South Main Street, Hopedale, or as I call it, the traffic light number 2 in the town. There's a big
Hopedale.
piece of land on one of the corner that's sitting there because the guy who bought it sight unseen to build something, and then found out there was no update about water and sewer. And he said, well, the sewer would be Hopedale. We don't have water. Maybe you don't have water. He was from north of Boston. I guess never bothered to look at the rest of the state.
Did he ever do any well testing?
So the
Oh, you put it up for resale.
individual that owns that property, I think, is just waiting on his head without getting.
Yeah. But anyway, we're digressing, but that's the background on the other towns.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, certainly we want to start having those conversations soon. I was thinking that would be more later down the line, but it sounds like these communities should know, A, if they're interested, but B, do they have the water? What do they have? So then we can look at what the town of Mendon wants from a location about maybe providing some water in the center of town, and we talk maybe connecting it to Cape Road and connecting it to Dudley.
Well,
But
Dudley, candidly, my own feeling, one member of this board, if we got water from other sources, I'd go to Hopedale and say, we're selling you Dudley for $1. Buy. That's my own preference. They're already building them, they're already taking care of it, it's a new part of the system. Hey guys, buy.
Yeah, it's not connected to the other part. Either. It's just-
The other thing I can give you is, I'm a full-time assessor in Newburgh town. I have access to near maps, aerial photography. So basically, if you want to see what's not built in the town from air, and then identify which those parcels are and track down, I can do that with you guys in my parcel. And we're talking spy satellite photography. I mean, basically, if it was photographing you today, it would tell you the color of your top. You could see it. It's so clear that when I look at my car parked in the town hall's parking lot, I usually have a baseball cap on the back. Windshield.
Yeah.
You can see the hat sitting there. What's my car? That's how clear it is. We measure decks and things from it. Yeah. But I mean, it's a really good way to look at the town and say, it's a nice way to get, you can zoom in on the town from like the entire town and say, okay, what's not built? Okay, now what's that? What's that? Follow Lonnie Brook around. Or just look at sites from the air and identify who owns. Or if you're looking at a pathway for, I personally believe town is enough land that if you got something down 16, you could snake it almost entirely through town on parcels out to Hartford.
Cross country.
Or vice versa. Yeah. We have that huge parcel behind the senior center and the highway barn that go out to Hartford Avenue. So, I mean, you'd obviously have to go through some private property, but I personally go either way that way and stay off public lawn.
Yeah.
On the other hand, being a professor, I also understand betterment fees very, very well. So, you know, the issue then is if you're going by somebody and they don't want it because they have a well, we still have to charge them a betterment fee. And the other thing, just for history in town, the town always had large lots and increased them in the 80s to protect the septics and well area in town. So, you know, most people have, if they have an older house, they've invested in it probably well over time. And the new homes, it's a built-in cost. So the idea I hear from one of the selectmen candidly is, well, if you're going to run water, why don't you run sewer? Because people would go for sewer more than water. But that's another piece of the background. And the town in the 60s did turn down water and sewer when the feds were paying 85%, the state was paying 20%. I'm sorry, 75%, the state was paying 15 or whatever,
Well,
and it came down to like 10% down.
and I-
No, we turned it down. President.
The federal government after World War II paid to have all of these plans made. And it went down to town meeting, I think 2 votes or something.
Yeah, and then in the 60s, it went down like a vote like. Because they want to amend it to state.
Yeah, that's one way to do it.
Is that still the residence amendment, is that?
They like the country feel, they like the large lots, they like things like that. Except, you know, you get into the downtown area, you have the old zoning. You have clustered housing, you have no available water. Typically what they do, they had a fire on North Avenue a couple of years ago. That's the biggest one in recent memory. And they ran the shuttles from the last hydrant on 16 to near the drive. And they run the tankers back and forth to put out that fire. Most of the new subdivisions from the 90s onward have cisterns built. Although I'm told our current fire chief is a big fan of this.
I think the problem with the regulations, crap, so we fixed it.
Well, whatever.
But I will say that, and we should put that in the file, all the results from the master plan survey. Those are some of the questions that were asked about people's interest in lot size and all that, so I'm just
That'd be great.
thinking I'll copy that over.
Yeah, and obviously balance with that, a lot of restaurants at 16
Yeah.
and 40.
Yeah.
They're killed to have water, and the last time I looked, I think it was $8 million to connect us 10 years ago, and you know what date that was. And then when everybody heard the price tag, they sort of called, so that I think the pressure now is the county sitting on $2 million a month.
Yeah, and more, infrastructure money coming down the line.
Right, so the study is very timely because you have to commit that money by. If
The ARPA funds committed by 2024 and spent by 2026.
2026, yes, so we have, as far as I'm concerned, we've got about a year and a half to figure out where we're going. We want to get things out to bid.
So is your feeling is, and we can look at the residents, and keep Mendon's rural parts rural, but focus on Route 16 and 140 to really kind of get some
Well,
growth.
it's the town father's goal and everybody's goal for economic development. We have an economic development committee.
Yeah.
You should probably touch base with, but 16 and 140, since whenever zoning came into this town, were always identified as the business areas in town.
Yep.
Now we have one isolated area on Providence Road that by history got rezoned, but 16 and 140 are the business corridors. 140 has water, but we're under that Oakdale lock where if you can do a home-based business, you can have water. People are going to tear things down and want to build something new, they can't. So you can't buy 2 or 3 lots to put up something sizable. We had a warehouse approach to town. I don't know what the status of that is. We can't supply them with water. So.
This is in spite of the fact that many businesses actually use less water than the residents.
Yeah, I think Dan mentioned that.
Yeah,
Kick it off, so.
and
It just goes to show how they don't want to listen to it. They don't want to.
right, but I mean, I know the restaurants in 16 in particular would love sewers because I know one of them is paying a fortune every week to be pumped out every week.
Between that and public water supply, all the costs, I mean, look what we're spending, like for this building, for that.
Yeah. They don't have their own public water supplies, so they're paying a fortune for testing and all that stuff.
Plus new, you have that tea shop in Mendon that's using bottled water, you got the
Tea
Rebecca's.
shop.
Oh, opposite where Gary Smith used to be, it's like a tea, she's open the weekend, you should go, it's really good.
Oh, okay. See, I've been in
But it's bottled water,
Yeah,
we can't do that, Rebecca's Place is just a bunch of stuff stored there, because you can't have a restaurant, because no public water. No
We have the Muffin House now.
Yeah, so that's a private public water supply. Kevin's looking at spending millions on whatever he does for that development to get his water.
Oh, they kill for water.
And we've had developers, I might have mentioned this, we've had at least one developer offer us to write us a check if we could get him a hookup to build housing on Hartford Avenue East.
Oh, yeah.
If it's worth it to him.
So it's critical for a lot of things, fire protection, economic development.
The other strange thing is the restaurant down at the south end of 140 apparently has a water supply from
yeah.
Bellingham,
Oh,
even though we don't officially know that.
oh, okay. Did, that's why they moved out of off Route 16?
No,
Or
it
was
burned
that just
down.
a fire?
Yeah.
Well, what happened is the Hackinson family owned the building burned down. The family that actually owned the rights to the loans because they bought it. From the Hackinson family and were tenants. They couldn't agree with the Hackinsons on rebuilding there. So they bought what was a series of restaurants.
The Jade.
The last iteration was a Chinese restaurant. God, when they bought it, and they bought that, they actually showed me what it looked like in the kitchen. It's like, oh my God, they had to rebuild half the building.
I've eaten there before.
It doesn't have the same, it doesn't have the same, yeah, it doesn't have the same amount of clientele, but they.
Yeah.
And then the replacement thing was built up on the Hackinson, so that's a thing in town. But I mean, you got restaurants that could do more business.
Yeah.
If they're water and sewer,
Well, just
you
how
could
close.
attract more business. I mean, there is a proposal that Dan just referenced for somebody trying to bring a supermarket and some housing and develop part of 16.
Not have to drive into Bellingham every time.
There's a,
Be two wells, he's gonna drill a whole massive.
you have, both schools are on North Avenue on Wells, the school and the elementary school. This building's on a well, the town hall's on a well. So there's a municipal need, the senior center's on a well, is town beach complex. So there's a municipal need, there's a business need, there's a fire protection need, not business, economic development, there's a fire protection need. I actually looked at the residences last on that list.
Well, you know, Kevin, there's also a need for affordable housing. And you can't
Yes.
do affordable housing without some kind of infrastructure. It's almost impossible.
Right, I mean, there's a proposal that the town is trying to build its own friendly affordable housing next to the senior center. And, I mean, they really need water and sewer to make it work. And nobody can put in any affordable housing in this town without sewer.
Yeah.
Water's more important, but sewer is a big problem as well. You know, people, the problem is, I mean, we're both the Blackstone and the Charles water trees. The Charles is the dividing line between Minden and Bellingham. I actually live on 140. Charles River is my backyard. But that's maxed by DEP on an outflow and inflow already in terms of water withdrawal and sewage output. Honey Brook, which runs through the center of town, goes to Harris Pond in it's Blackstone. And Harris Pond is a drinking water supply from the summer.
It goes into the Mill River, which Mill River goes into Blackstone River.
Right, well, at any rate, it's used by Woonsocket, Rhode Island for drinking supply. So anytime somebody's tried to do something near Buddy Brook, they tend to crawl out of the woodwork and scream. As I would if it was my water supply. So that's the status. And there is a lot of town land. I think if, you know, what I'll try to do is see if I can access my near capital. If it works at home, then I can give you the URL and my password. And you could just look at it.
Okay.
We're paying $6,000 a year for that stuff, but it does cover men. It doesn't usually cover people that don't subscribe to it.
Yeah.
But it does, because I actually, when I hear of a development of town, I look at it for the year.
So, Kevin, I was gonna say, Dan already provided the guys with have studies that have.
Basically, everything.
Plus all the well exploration work that was done.
Yeah.
As much as we can find.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of work done in the past. Nobody's ever put it together. Nobody's ever given like a major report that says, these are your, 4 options. These are the factors, pluses and minuses of each. And,
We won't get that out of this report yet.
no, but I also,
Kind of conceptual.
I also think we're only one player in this report, because there's a lot of people who are gonna look at this and go, yes, no, maybe.
Right, yeah.
Although I would
Just
just,
gonna take us to the next level though.
right, I would just point out something that most of the town government does not know. This board has the statutory authority, especially now that we're an enterprise fund, as long as we can show that user revenue pays for it, we have the statutory authority to float our own bonds. Politically, it would be suicide not to do it with the other town people, the other town boards, but it falls outside of the town's 2.5 cap. And would only be paid by the ratepayers. That's how Milford bought the private water company. $84 million financed for the bond offering over 20 years, totally secured by the water rates. Bonding company said no problem.
Yeah, but
So that's
we've
a
got
revenue bump.
156 customers. We don't.
Well, what I'm
we don't
talking
have
about
rate
is,
days.
yeah, but what I'm talking about is you decided, if the powers that be and everybody decided we can afford to do a line, say, from Hopedale, from Uxbridge, all the way down 16.
Yeah.
And it costs $30 million, and ARPA pays for, and Fed money pays for 5 or 6 of it. We do have the authority, and then you can be charging betterment fees and user fees, and they would have to balance over time. But the thing is, I don't think restaurants would like the fact that, it has to come up with a $20,000 benefit fee, as well as the houses that have wells that it passes. That's the fact of life. That's the trade-offs you have to explain to people.
So we're gonna do a high level, we're gonna do that evaluation you mentioned at a high level, right? So you will have preliminary or conceptual budgets for different alternatives. And, we'll make a recommendation with input from you and everyone in the town based on, obviously, cost is a big factor, but logistics, certainly environmental impacts, wetlands. We're gonna look at all that and look at it at a high level. And based on this recommendation, however the town wants to move forward, we can then dive in a little further. So if it is a well, then phase 2 of this project would be looking into, doing some more groundwater testing.
I know what, I know the amount of time and effort engineering it takes to develop a well.
It does, and there's gonna be other obstacles as well, like maybe we can take a source, but the town doesn't own the land, so then we're gonna get private owners, get on there, but it may be something worth looking at. If,
Yeah, I mean,
it's a possibility.
I don't know the result. Alan, do you know the result of when the Milford Water Company drilled on Peter Denton's land?
Again,
The Milford Water Company was drilling off of Peter Denton's land.
well, the
Off
Milford
Bay
was
Street.
in the 70s, I think.
Was drilling off
Was
Bay Street.
drilling down along
Yeah.
the path of the river, south of Bellingham Street. And we've got a lot of notes and stuff from that project. And they found water and they just decided that they didn't need it. And at that time, the Milford Water Company, Hopedale and everything else.
But that, down behind the Colonial Estates development. Colonial Estates is at the end of Providence, with Blackstone. That's built totally on sand, and underneath that. You go back into that. There's some vacant land near the gas pipeline. There's a transmission facility. And then you connect to Thayer Road, which comes off of 8th Street. You're going here. There's a gentleman who had a farm here, the water company was drilling on. But the people who have wells on Colonial, that development, their water was some of the best water in town. Unlike the rest of the town, it came up without iron or manganese in it.
Can you get documentation on that?
Sorry, yeah, I'm getting blown up because
Okay,
nobody knows how to run a meeting. What are we looking for? So
we're talking about a report back in the
the
70s.
Fay and Milford was 1986. It's in that file. I believe what the conclusion was.
They were on Thayer Road drilling.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought what Alan said. I think this was up on Colonial Drive, or way back
It's
there.
the same area.
I thought the conclusion was that something about it was viable, but it was going to need it was going to be not financially viable.
Well,
Hang on.
it's if you drill a well for
Oh, yeah.
public consumption, you
Yeah.
get to build a water treatment plant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, And also,
A water supply of 0.5 to 0.8 million gallons per day can be developed along the river. Such a system requires 6 to 8 large diameter vertical wells or approximately 20 2.5-inch wells. The costs associated with such systems do not warrant water supply development at this time.
In 1986.
That was 1986 from Groundwater Associates, Inc.
where they were gonna pump it.
It's in there, it's attached wells report.
Right, so going
1986.
that far, maybe it
But
wasn't.
I mean, also, you know, candidly, if you look at what's being developed today in sites, we 5 years ago, we thought were developable. And I think these are developable today.
Oh, yeah, me too. Wolf is Japan. It's significantly a lot higher, honestly. So,
Yeah.
you know, that source could be a viable source for us.
Right, and then the yield of what we find then determines to me where to go to. It might be only viable for business. It might be, you know, if you can cross it from the river area up to the downtown and then over to 140, it might be we feed business, but you put a ton more hydrants for the fire department.
Yeah, along the way.
Yeah,
It also has to be reasonably treated. I mean, it can't be extravagant cost to treat the water.
It's got to be drinking water standards.
Yeah,
In order, public water supply, so that's
and that can get very expensive.
a must. Right, yeah.
Actually.
yeah, but again, I mean, you know, like I said, wherever if a well is recommended, the potential yield determines who we supply it. And
Yeah.
I think be lining up, and again, I think the average resident will probably come in last on that list of priorities.
Well, and if you build a water treatment plant, you've got at least one, maybe several full-time employees that you're.
Unless you hire an outside company to run it full time,
Right.
and then you pay that through the water rates.
Yeah, you'd have to.
It's no different than us paying Whitewater to do all our testing.
Right.
They run treatment plants in other towns.
Well, yeah, I mean,
It's
you
not
pay
ours.
somebody like them, it's just very expensive, but you pay somebody like them, they're running for you, and then they're rich. But again, that's way before.
You guys get way ahead of this whole thing. Right now, we're just looking. at
Yeah.
water supply.
Yeah,
As far as treatment stuff, you know.
It's good to hear your long-term vision, you know, what your thoughts are. That's, I mean, that's one of our goals is to kind of.
candidly, I'll be dead before you get a well.
I don't think so.
I hope not, yes. I hope not.
I might do.
Jack, we'll get that one-stop grant and we'll just keep this thing moving. We'll be.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey, I
right
can
on.
tell you
Two.
both, that, or all three of you, I don't even know if I told Dan, we have submitted to the state to fund phase 2. We got that in last Friday, thanks to Scott and Krista and Dee from their office. I think it's competitive. I'm a little worried about a few things, but we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Okay, because this is really phase one.
This is kind of phase 1, yeah. So phase 2, we put in another one-stop grant application. We'll hear back in
And
the
Jack,
late summer, fall.
I still don't know why we don't use it. If we don't get the grant, I still don't understand why we're not using the ARPA money.
I have a commitment from the town administrator. If we don't get funding, she will use it.
Okay.
A
Good.
verbal commitment.
Yeah, and then we get more feedback from the one-stop, you know, program and resubmit again, you know, for phase 3.
Okay. Well, I don't know if we need to take up more of your guys' time.
Well, it's really up to you. I mean, I know it's 20 of, and you guys want to stop at 8, and you have a few other things on the agenda.
Well, I just wanted, yeah, kind of the basics as far as what the expectations are with what you guys are doing. So you're talking about reaching out to the communities, looking at data that we've got right now, and so ultimately we'll get a kind of conceptual report at the end of this. It's gonna.
Yes.
Yeah, the only other question I had is there an estimated timetable or is it open-ended?
We do.
Never open it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, the plan is to get this done by the end of the year, so,
Calendar year, yeah.
we will keep, Scott and I both wanna keep everyone engaged throughout the process, so if it makes sense for us to come here and give you an update, we're happy to do that. We'll be working with Jack regularly, you know, as we're, you know, when I'm ready to reach out to anyone, any other communities, I'm gonna go through this team, you know, I'm gonna go through Jack and make sure that we're communicating in the way you guys want us to communicate.
Right, and finding out that list of the list of communities we want to talk to, the town's point of contact when we go as well, so,
Yeah, and
like
I'm
that.
leaning heavily on Dan and Vin. They're
Yeah.
my go-tos.
I would say yes. Well, you do it for a living, he's here all day. I would have one thing, could I just have your email, because if I can get your map to work at home, I'll shoot you the,
Yeah.
I'll shoot you both the.
I might.
I have an old card. It should have the right email.
Thank
Oh,
you.
yeah, we've changed the branding, as you can see. Our logo's a little different.
That's the right.
It is.
Yeah, got a new logo, got new colors, revamped after, I don't know how many years that was, 15.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, I like that one too.
Some of
The new one's
us do.
growing on me. The new one's growing on me.
What I'll do is
You want-
probably. And working on next Saturday. Probably Saturday, I'll have a chance to, or tomorrow, I'll have a chance to bring the URL. Let's try it from home. If that works.
Sure.
What I'll do is I'll email the URL and just say, hey, podcast, where please don't circulate.
Yeah, that we would keep that within a team circle.
Yeah, what I do is I give you instructions. If you look at vertical views, all the parcels are separated. If you just move the mouse to the parcel, it tells you the assessor's ID.
Okay.
Or the state GIS system's loc ID.
Yeah.
And that way you can trace back just where is that, who owns it, is it town owned, is it whatever.
Yeah.
And you can do it very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So it's a really great tool if you just want to. Who's in the house you grew up in Milford, you can go do that.
Yeah, which my parents are actively selling right at the moment. They're closing on the sale.
No, it's funny,
next Friday.
we no longer do outside inspections
Yeah.
because it takes too much manpower. We get an update every quarter.
Yeah.
This company flies to the state. We just go in, somebody has a building permit for any exterior work, we just wait 3 months and get it from the year.
Huh.
And you can actually measure it.
Yeah, see if they encroached on something too close, a setback.
Well, you can do that, but also if the building permit says a 10x12 deck and you look and they built a 10x14, they're getting assessed at 10x14. And it's not uncommon for people to fudge building permits.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it's a godsend in labor saving.
Well, and know what, at Franklin, where I live now,
Yeah.
they're using that to put together a stormwater utility fee, so.
Yeah.
Based on impervious cover by, a residence. And
And you
that
can
level of
literally,
detail.
you can literally measure. I mean, the other thing, this is weird, but you tax commercial properties by parking area.
Hmm.
And instead of going out with a wheel, you just go.
Yeah.
It gives it to you.
Yeah.
It's so much time saving.
Yeah, absolutely. And it starts with desktop analysis, so desktop, that's what we want to, start poking around with.
And then all the screenshots can be saved as JPEGs, PDFs, whatever you want to say. They drop into a report. Yep.
It turns out that Blackstone and Bellingham, according to the newspaper, ship over sewage down to town of Rhode Island. Which is having a problem in their sewage treatment plant, but that's why it was in the newspaper.
Yeah, well, the output of Milford's plant, the solids are trucked to a company in Rhode Island called Centagro, and they turn it into fertilizer and sell it.
Yeah, and I mean, in Milford's treatment plant for sewer is right on the Oakdale line.
It's in Oakdale.
Yeah, not even too far from, where the 140 corridor is Mendon, so.
Well, would have to go through Oakdale.
You have to go through Oakdale.
They do have capacity.
Well, there have been comments made that they may be open to sewer connections, because they need money.
Milford.
No, Oakdale.
Oakdale. Oh, Oakdale has their own too, yeah.
Apparently, there was somebody said something to something. So-
Yeah, they
Who knows?
want sewage, but they don't want to give us water.
Right.
And that would be a very odd thing for the DEP, because normally they want everything to stay
Stay
in
in
the
the
basin.
in the basin, yeah.
And then look really weird at sewage coming in, but nothing coming out.
Medfield's doing that right now. They just put a new well in, and then that's not the Ponset. I don't remember what it's, I don't know whatever base it is, but then their discharge from the wastewater treatment plant is Charles River, so
Yeah.
they have that happening. That
No, I mean, anything's possible, but I happen to know Milford takes some sewage from Hopkinton. And I know their terms are basically same as every other town. You pay for everything to connect there. If they gotta increase the plant size, you pay for that for the nose. Charge their highest fee.
Full South Street. And pumping that actually feeds into Milford.
And they pay quite a bit of money for that. They paid $6 million to connect for all the infrastructure.
Feels like Hopkinton can afford it. Yeah.
So, I'm quite familiar with the municipal agreements and things like that.
Yeah.
I would also point out that Milford has a connect with Bellingham. That's closer, very close.
Yeah, which apparently isn't usually there anytime they need it.
It's being upgraded right now under the new ownership.
Okay. Water department.
Part of what they're doing is they're looking at every interconnect and they're standardizing how it's going to be built. If they have to rebuild it, what the terms are and where they are. Candidly, part of the problem is the privately owned water company. They had a very good episode in 2009 with contamination. Town. The one on Bellingham was up from the top of Milford. I can't remember the name.
No, it goes.
It's a tree off Hartford Avenue. I always remember that. I forget the name.
Road.
And then there's a road from Bellingham into Milford,
But I mean, if you can run it from,
and there's
if you had the ability to get from Milford, you can run it through that system. A meter on that interconnect and a meter to Bellingham must have one. Obviously, the Bellingham, England, we used to pay Hopedale. I think that possibility is
So a lot of the infrastructure might already be in place, but it sounded like.
from that interconnect to Hartford Avenue is.
Yeah.
And our old connect to Bellingham down Hartford Avenue needs to be replaced.
Also,
And that's a Charles River crossing.
we went, I wonder how much of that is there. It sounded like the whole Bellingham's ripped out.
I have no doubt it
The thing is
is,
still there.
but the infrastructure
I guess it's our.
from Hartford Avenue up to us
Couldn't tell.
needs to
When
be
we go to the
replaced, but
bridge,
the infrastructure,
it's all-
whatever that road name
Yeah.
is, one that connects to Beaver Street.
Yeah.
In Milford, that, some of that's brand new even.
Yeah.
So I know,
The only thing that's keeping us using that physically is the fact that there's 20 or 30 or 50 feet missing that was leaking as it was crossed.
He thinks it was pulled, I vaguely remember him saying he thinks it was pulled when they redid the bridge.
It's not Grove Street?
Which makes sense why we found,
It is, yeah,
didn't
okay.
find anything.
So it's
Right.
not-
But I said our
First left.
main goes
if you go
past
down
that
Hartford
hydrant
on one
and
twenty,
goes to a valve, and that pit, and it's just shut off.
I'm in Hartford to join
I'm sorry.
126 Bellingham. It's the first left after the road.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah,
It's
Grove,
supposed to be
Grove.
on the other
Yeah.
side.
Oh, you think maybe this on the bridge?
Because we used to come out that road, we're
He
going
found that
like
bridge in
Yeah, that's right.
The-
In Hollis.
movie theater or something growing up.
Yeah, that's
Take
right.
that back. It's a small winding back road, and they're building a lot of houses there.
Well, that's a little low.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the, Bellingham is lining from Hartford Avenue down Grove to that interconnect. So that's all modernized. So it would be picking up there. You'd have to go under the railroad track,
Oh, yeah.
which may be already there. And you'd have to go,
It'd be nice if there was a casing under there, just.
and you'd have to go
Use.
over under the bridge.
Absolutely. So you guys have a schedule? I'm sure.
It says in here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we do.
Just give it to Dan and get forward. I'd like to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's, as of now, the plan is to have stuff by the end of the year, so it's
Yeah.
a more detailed one.
We had rough like data collection in June.
Yeah.
June through September, wastewater, water evaluations.
Yeah.
September, October, implementation plan, November, December, technical memo. I mean, that's very rough, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting on those conversations with the neighboring communities, and the
And
desktop analysis.
as long as I can help you get parcels in the area, figure out the ownership, I've done my part.
There we go. Yeah.
No, I just, yeah.
Everything helps. I mean,
Every little bit
you know,
counts.
Everything helps, yeah.
Kevin, I'll let you get your hand too.
About 40 years, 45 years of history.
I was gonna say, one of the documents is a long-range plan that Alan put together that I was just looking, again, part of that includes some preliminary analysis on where the mains are surrounding Mendon, like where the closest points are.
Yeah.
So that's a good starting point.
It is.
Because it would be, I think you mentioned it before, I think it would be helpful to get all of that into like GIS.
Yeah.
To show, here's your possible options, here's your areas of commercial interest. Yeah, understand.
I mean, it's worse since they wrote all that stuff up.
Blackstone?
Oxbridge?
Uxbridge,
Uxbridge.
to the west, yeah.
Has built a few more fire hydrants worth of mains towards us. Which are not that big. And it appears that Bellingham has also done that. And what's the town next to it?
Blackstone. Blackstone? Or going the other way, Franklin's next to Bellingham.
No, on the west side of Bellingham.
It's Blackstone,
Blackstone.
yeah. And then Millville.
And I would say they built a little bit more extension here and there.
The issue you run into with the towns is very parochial, which is first of all, you're taking our water. And then it's, what you don't get, either way to approach it, is to sell it as an economic benefit to what that town gets out of it.
Oh, yeah.
The proposed deal we had with Bellingham at the time was even, they would be charging us a higher rate, the initial tie-in fees 4 or 5 years ago already, would have covered 2 years worth of their capital expenses in the water system. And because they were increasing the amount of users, the rate actually dropped. And they were gonna let us add 5 users a year, which means we could grow. They wouldn't be absorbing hundreds of people. They'd pick up the Bellingham corridor, which is about 120. And then it would allow us to grow by 5 a year, which they could plan for. And we could say, okay, economic development, we have 5 connections coming in. Let's go pick something.
Yeah.
Or tell people. And it just didn't get sold. It was brought up at a meeting. The select board members jumped up right now, we're not going to take our water. That's what people will call me. They're taking our water. We just picked out a rate increase. It's not explained right to people. There is an economic benefit to both towns. And I always tell people, when you go up to Hudson and Berlin, where they built the new mall, it's 90% of Berlin. Berlin didn't have the water or the sewer, Hudson did. And the two towns got together and made a deal to get that mall. And I will tell you that Berlin pays some of the tax revenue on its side of the mall back to Hudson. Every year as a fee. Because the majority of the mall is in, I believe, Berlin. And I can't remember the name of the mall, but it's off the.
Solomon.
Oh.
Solomon Pond Mall.
No, not Solomon Pond, the new one.
Oh.
The one they built on 62.
Is it on 45 that you can see?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, that big plaza area.
there's signs for Cabela's and stores.
Yeah.
If you come up 85 from Milford and go into Hudson, there'll be signs for, I can't remember, I just keep blanking on the name.
I think, what is it, Highland Farms? Is that it?
Highland, yes. And
Highland Commons.
Highland Commons, the former assessor in Milford is on the finance, who retired, is on the finance committee in Berlin. She helped negotiate that deal, and they really got the two towns working to say, neither one of us is going to get this by ourselves. So let's sit down together and say, okay, we can both benefit about the water and sewer. We'll make it worth your while to let 2/3 of it be, 1/3 be us. And they worked it out.
Well, supply and demand, it should be pretty simple.
But you have to position things and sell them right to people, otherwise you're not taking our water.
Yeah.
You guys done any work with Bellingham at all? I've got connections over there. I was supposed to. John. Jesse. No, there's interest.
Yeah.
But like Kev was saying, it died with the board of selectmen.
Yeah.
And it just don't know how it was presented, because let's
Yeah,
face it,
yeah.
our daily demand for water is a drop in the bucket.
Yeah,
We had the chairman of the board of selectmen, we had the town manager, we had the DPW director,
Right.
we had the 5-member board of selectmen. And the way it was mentioned, it was decided. We never got a chance to formally. put things
Public
together.
education, yeah.
And I even said, I would have made the economic case for, like, we even a proposal that would benefit you economically, that was never even mentioned. All I heard was water, take our water, no.
Right, right. And talking about,
Well, there's a misconception.
setting the
too.
table, we have this much water, we use this much water, surplus.
Well, I was gonna say, the other big misconception is people during the summertime, this is water restrictions.
Yes.
And so they automatically think, well, the reason why we have water restrictions, we don't have power. Also, somebody providing water to other towns, like, that's gonna be the reason why.
No, they're already automatic
Yeah.
by the DEP rules.
Right.
Everybody.
You and I know that.
Everybody goes to stage 2 automatically, so.
Right, if you've got a water management act.
Yeah.
Some type of restrictions is what the conditions.
Right, and we're out of even in Holliston right now.
Yeah.
Because the water department's across the hall from me.
Right.
We're out even.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is double-edged sword for the water department, because, that's how they're, it's their source of water. I mean, there's a
That's what I
source
get
of
revenue.
revenue.
And then you gotta go to what's left.
Yeah.
Daniel, what's left, do we need
Uh,
to?
so I have a
Couple
couple.
of questions for these guys, right?
I don't, I'm set,
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll
Very
keep, I
happy.
mean, we'll keep you informed and we'll certainly be reaching out to you to sit with us as we go to these communities, so.
I'm very happy. Like I said, I may be in a little. I'll also let you know if it doesn't work, and then I'll invite you to my office to Holliston for a day.
Yeah, and once you email us too, if, I don't know if you've seen our proposal, it's just a few pages of what our scope is.
I don't have to. No, I don't need to read. With the gentleman, our screen is done.
Who's done a great job, yeah.
Yes, the jack is done, and meeting you guys, that's all I really wanted to know.
Yeah.
I just like the warm fuzzies that were being included.
Yeah. No, I mean, we've always considered, the water commission being a big player.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, guys. I gotta go too, so.
Thank you guys very much. Have a good night, Jack.
You guys again?
Yes.
Yeah, see you guys short right now.
Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Yeah.
What is this?
Two more items, a couple more items we get into.
You can go. we can-
Well,
You need
do you bring it run out?
Down.
like 2 gallons.
Well, so, all right, so
I just wanted to ask you before I go.
Yeah, I'll have this.
I just
Thanks
sent
for your
an
time.
email.
Yeah, you just go right up.
My apologies.
yeah, no, that's perfect. That was good. So I have some info on the,
Did you reach out to EJ Fresco?
not yet,
Pricing on-
that's next, like this, so
Okay.
I met with the gentleman from Thai Sales, Brian Duplessis.
Yeah,
Who was awesome,
talking about the big meter.
talking about the technology. So we bought some meters. That's, but now we gotta connect them. So it sounds like we have 3 options to connect these meters. The first one is the IECA system. It's basically standalone. It's gonna be $2,500 in upfront costs, $250 a year. You get to log in, the alerts, all the
You had 20,
cellular.
real-time data, 24/7.
So that's option A.
Right.
Option B is some sort of just radio-based unit. It would be $6,000 for the unit, one time for the thing to read it. No annual cost unless we want to expand a future meter reading. We would have to physically go out there and download it, logs for 90 days, so at least quarterly, we'd have to go download a report. The difference is on the IECA, it's per meter, so that 2,500 we pay it now, we pay it again for the other meter, and $250 a year times 2. The third option,
Wait,
which
it's 500 a year.
it would be, yeah, the
For the IECA, it's
For the-
50 per
yeah.
location.
the
And you're
third
able,
option.
and you're able to log into onto the internet.
Right,
It's all-
and so the middle option would be nice, the problem is we basically gonna get a log, that Oakdale gets, no log, no alerts, no whatever. The third option, which I thought was stupid, but the more I think about it, is very interesting, is the Neptune, the cellular system.
Oh, it's really expensive.
Well, so wait till you hear what they might be able to do for us. If the initial cost is 6,800, the recurring cost is 2,000 a year. It gets us cellular, everything, web access that we need. It can support up to 250 meters. So
That's good for a
he's a
system.
salesman.
That's good for a system.
He's trying to sell us on, the future of system. He believes, and he talked to Neptune, they would be willing to work out a proposal to pay upfront for everything, including multiple years of the ongoing data, because we have this financial thing that we gotta spend by June 30th. So the only thing that's interesting about here is it would, I mean, granted, we're in the middle of a retrofit now, we probably got 7 or 8 years at least of these meters. This would be the direction to go, because cellular means we no longer have to go read meters. We just-
They usually do a radio propagation study that when they come in to see
Yeah.
how many different
Well,
satellite towers you need, which may increase the cost too.
let me just get back to the one that's 2,500 each. And 250 each.
It's itself.
Okay,
Yeah.
what does that give us for data?
That gives us all the web alerts, the logs. So Tim Watson would just have a login. He'd go to whatever.com and he'd log in and he could see anything he wants.
And what would we see?
Same thing.
Same
And
thing.
program alerts, all the things we want.
Only use
Does it text or call us when there's something out of whack?
Right, so you can program in,
you can set.
all sorts of parameters.
I'd
which
rather,
we need.
I'd rather go for that one, and spend the $5,000 and good stuff.
The only question for you guys, I think, is so he was gonna talk to his tech person about, they're gonna have to probably, we either are gonna have to saw cut the pavement and put a wire out of the pit across it and just zip tie it to the street pole. Or maybe they can do a little antenna that just drill a hole and sit it at street level. He was gonna figure
The
that
only
out.
thing you gotta work on panels like that. I've got the same system. I have one of my water towers, water tank. Everything's terrific.
I'm just looking at the cost, it's
cheap.
it's
money.
it's $5,000 is doable within the grant money we have.
Yeah,
And 250 a year or 500 a year fits within our budget. Like to think bigger, but right now we don't
Oh
have.
my
any.
God, it's cheap and it works.
It's cheap and it works, and it gives us what we want.
Yeah. You can,
So I personally would recommend that option.
the only, so with the IACA, every 5 years, we get, the battery's $100. That's a trivial.
It's also,
I think, I guess if we could buy, we should probably buy both sets of hardware. The
yes,
battery's good for 5 years, worst case, around $100, I would buy it now and get it.
I buy both
And
things
then,
now.
so you said that shopping list, so I will go through with the info they get, I'll get prices from EJP and come up with a spreadsheet, and then we can have one more meeting and make a final call on the rest of the stuff.
Well, the other thing,
how much money you spend for the meters?
So the meters were 19,
Okay, 20 grand.
this is gonna be
50.
another 5, so that's 25,000.
we have 50.
We still be at 50, so the blanks of the pipe, the hardware.
Oh, yeah, I gave Dan a shot.
Right,
I think some items we bought previously.
Is there any way to use any of that 50 to get these installed? Can we prepay once and install?
We talked about that.
So
Did you ask him?
I have not talked, well, so we talked to the one, we got a quote from that one company. Unfortunately, I think this is a pretty technical job.
It is.
This company.
Yeah, so that guy that you and I met.
Hydrotech came out and looked, and they're working up a price for this. It's gonna be expensive. The gentleman you and I met with, they sent us a price, and let me just pull it
I
up.
think it was about 10 grand.
It was a lot.
Yeah, it was really high. I'm like,
And the meters won't be here, so the problem is the meters won't be here until mid-July. So
so you'd have to pay somebody.
Still gonna lose that 25 grand.
well, no.
The balance
So
is
the-
all went up.
Oh,
Okay.
maybe this is a conversation I haven't been, so what we figured out, we can use this for infrastructure. So we're gonna buy a bunch of spare parts and pipes. So the next time we have a
20
repair,
grand worth?
Oh, yeah.
the next time we have a repair, we've basically prepaid for some of that repair.
All right, so we're gonna use the balance of the 50 to buy all the equipment?
25 grand you got. That's not a lot of
Okay,
money.
then how are we gonna pay to put the meters?
We're gonna have to pay, we're gonna have to pay that out ourselves. It's gonna be $5,000 to $10,000.
We're gonna shop that out.
We'll shop. And well, it sounds like that's a very high price.
It's
All
crazy.
can't do it, the digging?
It's not digging, it's getting in there. We should talk to him about it,
Yeah.
what's involved. That I think I would do the tech.
Yeah, yeah.
It's physically with a.
The biggest thing is it's confined space.
Yes.
They're gonna be no standards for that.
All right.
It actually works.
I'll get Paul a call.
Fine. We all agreed on that 5,000
For the IAC.
2 units.
Agreed, yes.
Alan, you agreed with that one?
Yeah.
All right, Dan?
Okay, and then the other,
There's only one thing. Nothing we can do.
What do we got left on the agenda that I'm gonna miss out on?
Budget
When
issue.
the FCC decommissioned level 3 cell service, which is
yeah,
still being decommissioned. There's a whole lot of industrial type things to work with this.
I know, but
Yeah, we're-
all three providers are off 3G as of June 30th.
so we've got to make sure it's forward compatible. Because I'm getting yelled at. So the other issue, just so you're aware, we have so the town side of the budget is all set. We have a surplus of $20,000 because they put a bunch of extra money that isn't supposed to be there.
Which is carrying over.
But it's general fund money, so that's the public water supply.
Okay.
I talked to the chief. We're gonna pay one of the call guys to go around and inventory all the hydrants, a couple $100, so get some side work out of it. The enterprise fund, however.
Yeah.
Oh, about counting hydrants, as near as I can tell, and
Well, we hate the hydrants, increase the caps too.
Yeah, he's gonna.
the
grease all
number of
caps.
hydrants that we're paying Oakdale for doesn't seem to be exactly the same as the number of hydrants that actually exists.
Oh, so I learned about this. Well, let's do the enterprise fund and then ask the leave.
Which,
So the enterprise fund is currently, I believe we're gonna close the year at a $23,000 deficit.
Oh,
Because the
the water
water
main
breaks.
breaks.
It's not a problem, because we have $59,000 in the bank,
so we're still in the black.
but we went,
Browser.
well, so purchase of water. We budgeted, last year we spent 132, we budgeted 150, we spent 170.
How much did we spend on two?
The two water leaks were, hang on,
So we
$13,000 later.
30.
So we go from 59.
And the extra water, you gotta pay Hopedale.
Right, so this is a perfect
Right,
example.
so we go from 59,000 to 36. We're not running a deficit again.
No, so that basically we closed this year at a deficit, but then that deficit is
Offset.
paid out of our retainer, so it's a wash. The point is though, I was
It's not
thinking,
good, though.
this is the exact reason for this fund. Because 10 years ago when this happened, we had to go back to town meeting and get more money.
Right.
So not great, but
Yeah, you
Yes,
don't wanna
but-
retain earnings.
But it's working.
just needs to, into our, some of our reserves.
Right, yeah, it's not.
Well, we're also,
Unfortunately,
we're also for the leak repair.
I also
We have a
think
budget for it.
our revenue is probably, our revenue is not as high as we're hoping it is. Because we budgeted 150 and our revenue is only 114 right now. We still haven't closed out, so we may need to look at the rates again.
Okay. All right. And what's the water ban? Quickly.
That was just to let you know that we just talked about notice from Hopedale, so I'll
Stage
pass
2
it
or
on.
3?
I don't remember, odd even ban.
Not a big deal.
No, I'm letting you know, I was communicating.
And they probably don't enforce it because ultimately it cuts into their revenue.
Well, I usually get a message from him saying, hey, so I usually put a mailer in the water bills, but I missed the last one.
Yeah.
So that's that. So I will give you more info on the enterprise fund, but I didn't want you to be surprised.
All right. Listen,
It just killed us.
Finn has to go. I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
Well, I was gonna tell him I went with the hydrants, but if you.
You guys can talk later. I'm gonna move to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.